In recent months, more and more analysts, investors, and technology observers have come to the conclusion that humanity may be only a few steps away from the largest transformation since the emergence of the internet. If at the beginning of the 21st century, the main symbol of the technological revolution was the smartphone, and later, artificial intelligence, then many now consider the next stage to be the arrival of mass-produced humanoid robots. And we are no longer talking about industrial machines behind factory fences or robot vacuum cleaners, but about fully human-like assistants capable of living alongside people, understanding speech, maintaining conversations, carrying out tasks, and making independent decisions within the limits of their assigned functions. For many years, such ideas were considered elements of science fiction. Hollywood showed us worlds where humans and robots coexist side by side. But most experts believed that such a reality was still decades away. However, the situation began to change rapidly after breakthroughs in the field of artificial intelligence. What used to be the main challenge of robotics, the ability to understand the surrounding world and adapt to it, is gradually ceasing to be an insurmountable obstacle. Modern artificial intelligence models can already analyze images, understand speech, conduct complex conversations, write code, plan actions, and learn new tasks much faster than just a few years ago. Against this background, increasing attention is focused on Tesla and its Optimus project. This robot is now seen by many analysts as one of the leading candidates to become the first mass-market humanoid assistant. In recent years, the company has repeatedly demonstrated new versions of the robot, showing improvements in movement speed, manipulation accuracy, and autonomy. Many investors point out that Tesla is not simply building a standalone product, but an entire ecosystem in which vehicles, artificial intelligence, energy systems, and robots can operate as a unified platform. However, another idea is being discussed more and more often among analysts. Many believe that today's humanoid robots are only an intermediate stage. Just as the first mobile phones were merely preparation for the smartphone era, today's robots may only be a step toward the emergence of a completely new generation of human-like systems that will be much closer in appearance and behavior to humans than anything that exists today. According to information regularly appearing in technology media, many of the world's largest companies are simultaneously working on the task of creating highly realistic humanoid platforms. Their goal is not simply to build a machine with arms and legs. The goal is much larger: to create a machine that can naturally interact with people in everyday life. Imagine an ordinary morning in the middle of the next decade. You wake up not to a smartphone alarm, but to the quiet voice of a home assistant. The robot already knows your schedule, tracks changes in your calendar, checks the weather, traffic conditions, and news. While you get ready, it prepares breakfast, responds to incoming messages, and reminds you about important meetings. Everything happens so naturally that after some time, people practically stop perceiving such an assistant as a technological device. This effect is exactly what many researchers call the main feature of the future robotics revolution. When technology becomes part of everyday life, people quickly stop noticing its presence. Today, nobody is surprised by a smartphone in a pocket or a voice assistant in a smart speaker. In the same way, one day having a robot in the home may become completely ordinary. According to forecasts from several research companies, the humanoid robotics market could potentially reach tens of trillions of dollars in the long term. The reason is simple. Unlike cars or computers, which solve a limited range of tasks, a humanoid robot is capable of performing thousands of different functions. It can work at home, in a store, in a hospital, in a hotel, in a warehouse, in an office, at an airport, or in manufacturing. A particular interest is focused on the question of the artificial intelligence that will control such systems. Many experts believe that AI is the main missing element of the entire structure. A robot by itself is only a mechanical body. Its true value appears when this body receives an intelligent control system. A possible scenario looks like this. A person comes home after work. The robot greets them at the door, helps carry groceries, provides updates about deliveries and events of the day. During dinner, it can maintain a conversation, explain complex topics, help children with learning, and act as a personal tutor. At night, the system continues working, monitoring home security, keeping track of household devices, and performing tasks that do not require human presence. For elderly people, the importance of such technologies could be even greater. Many countries are already facing aging populations. Millions of people live alone and need constant assistance. A humanoid robot could remind them about medication, monitor health conditions, call emergency services when necessary, and simply provide a constant presence nearby. However, the more realistic such a picture of the future becomes, the more questions arise. One of the main ones is how quickly society will be able to adapt to the mass appearance of human-like machines. History shows that people adapt surprisingly quickly to new technologies. What seemed like science fiction yesterday becomes normal a few years later. Many analysts suggest that the first years will be accompanied by a period of universal curiosity. Robots will attract attention on streets, in stores, and in public spaces. People will take photos with them, discuss their capabilities, and compare different models. However, after some time, a stage of everyday normality will arrive, when having a robot will become as common as owning a car or a laptop. At the same time, there is another side to the issue. The more realistic machines become, the more social relationships will change. Some researchers warn that part of society may begin forming emotional attachments to robots. It is already known today that users can emotionally react even to relatively simple digital systems. If we are talking about a realistic humanoid capable of understanding the context of conversations, remembering a person's preferences, and maintaining years of interaction, the effect could be much stronger. Another topic of discussion is employment. Robots could transform the labor market across almost every sector of the economy. If the technology truly becomes widespread and affordable, companies will gain the ability to automate a huge number of tasks. This could lead both to higher productivity and lower costs of goods, as well as to the need for a large-scale restructuring of the employment market. Some economists believe that the world will face the largest redistribution of labor since the Industrial Revolution. New professions will appear related to managing robots, training them, and maintaining them. At the same time, some traditional occupations may gradually disappear. A separate question concerns the cost of such systems. Today, creating a sophisticated humanoid robot is extremely expensive. However, the history of technology shows that mass production can dramatically reduce prices. The first computers cost millions of dollars. The first mobile phones were available only to a limited number of people. Today, similar devices are used by billions of people. Therefore, many analysts assume that the initial price of an advanced home robot could reach tens of thousands of dollars. But as production volumes increase, the cost will gradually decrease. In the long term, the price could approach that of a mid-range car. Future cities could also change beyond recognition. Imagine streets where millions of robots of different models move around every day. Some work as delivery assistants, others help tourists, others provide security in public spaces, while others handle technical maintenance of infrastructure. New traffic rules, new safety requirements, and new standards for interaction between humans and machines will appear. The legislation of most countries is not yet prepared for such changes, so many experts expect long discussions between technology companies and regulators. The issue of responsibility is especially complicated. Who is responsible for a robot's actions? The manufacturer, the owner, the software developer? These questions are already being discussed in legal circles in many countries and will likely become one of the main topics of the next decade. Some futurists go even further and suggest that the widespread adoption of humanoid robots could change the very structure of society. If machines take over most routine work, people will be able to devote more time to creativity, education, science, and personal development. Other experts, on the contrary, warn about possible social disruptions and the need to adapt economic systems to a new reality. Interestingly, many of the world's largest investment funds are already viewing robotics as the next major trend after artificial intelligence. Capital is gradually moving toward companies operating at the intersection of AI and robotics. That is why every new demonstration of the capabilities of modern humanoid robots attracts such strong interest from the markets. At the same time, it is important to understand that a significant portion of the loud predictions and rumors remain exactly that: predictions and rumors. At the moment, there is no public confirmation that any company has already created a humanoid robot that fully surpasses humans in intelligence or is ready for mass deployment on the scale of millions of units. Nevertheless, the speed of technological progress in recent years is forcing many analysts to revise their previous expectations. If technology continues developing at its current pace, the next 10 years could become a period that future historians compare with the arrival of electricity, automobiles, or the internet. And perhaps it will be during this time that humanity will witness the moment when millions of intelligent humanoids become not laboratory experiments or exhibition prototypes, but an ordinary part of everyday life. A world where a robot is a colleague, assistant, mentor, companion, or even a full participant in the household may seem like science fiction today, but many signs indicate that this science fiction is gradually moving closer to reality. But the deeper experts begin to analyze the possible future of mass robotization, the more often another question arises. What will happen not when robots learn to perform physical work, but when they begin to become full intellectual partners for humans? Many analysts believe that this moment will become the true turning point of the entire era. Today, people perceive artificial intelligence as a program on a screen. They ask questions to chatbots, receive answers, use image generators and work assistants. But when that same intelligence receives a physical body and can exist alongside humans around the clock, the consequences will become far more significant. Imagine an ordinary family several years after the beginning of mass adoption of such systems. While parents are at work, a robot helps children with homework, explains complex topics in mathematics, foreign languages, or programming. If a child does not understand something, the system instantly adapts the explanation to their way of thinking. If the child is tired, the robot notices it through their voice and facial expressions. If help is needed, it contacts the parents. Essentially, every child receives a world-class personal tutor available 24 hours a day. Equally significant changes could happen in medicine. Many researchers already believe that the combination of artificial intelligence and robotics could greatly improve the quality of healthcare services. A home robot could analyze a person's condition every day, track changes in health indicators, detect early signs of illness, and recommend contacting a specialist long before serious symptoms appear. In countries with a shortage of medical staff, this could become a true revolution. However, this is exactly where the first serious concerns emerge. The more data a robot collects about a person, the more questions arise regarding privacy. The home assistant of the future will know almost everything about its owner: their habits, schedule, preferences, financial activity, medical information, and even emotional state. That is why many experts are already talking about the need to create new international standards for data protection. Another important issue is society's dependence on such systems. If millions of people become accustomed to robots solving a huge number of everyday tasks for them, could this lead to a decline in independence? Some psychologists believe this possibility exists, especially if technologies develop faster than society has time to adapt to new conditions. Nevertheless, supporters of robotization have their own arguments. They remind us that similar concerns existed during almost every technological revolution. When calculators appeared, many feared the decline of mathematical skills. When the internet became widespread, there were predictions about the destruction of traditional education. However, in practice, new technologies did not eliminate human abilities, but rather changed the way they are used. The speed of humanoid robot adoption also deserves special attention. Many people imagine this process as a gradual and almost invisible integration, but the history of technology shows that revolutions can sometimes happen much faster than society expects. Smartphones completely changed the daily lives of billions of people within just a few years. Artificial intelligence went from laboratory experiments to a global phenomenon in less than a decade. If humanoid robots achieve the required level of reliability and affordability, their spread could also happen extremely quickly. Some investment banks are already publishing scenarios suggesting that by the middle of the next decade, The number of humanoid robots in the world could reach millions and later tens of millions of units. Of course, such forecasts remain a subject of debate, but the very emergence of these estimates shows how seriously the financial sector is treating this direction. It is also interesting how society's perception of robots themselves may change. The first generation of such systems will likely be seen primarily as tools, but as their capabilities grow, people's attitudes may begin to shift. If a robot is able to communicate with a person for years, remember shared experiences, understand moods, and maintain conversations on almost any topic, the boundary between tool and companion becomes increasingly blurred. This is why some philosophers are already discussing questions that until recently seemed purely science fiction. Can a person experience genuine friendship toward a machine? Can a robot become a full member of a family? How will social norms change if millions of people begin interacting daily with intelligent systems that are almost indistinguishable from humans in appearance? Against this backdrop, forecasts are increasingly appearing suggesting that the robotics market could eventually surpass even the automotive market. The logic is simple. One family may need only one car, but the need for several robots for different tasks seems like a realistic scenario. One assists with household chores, another cares for elderly relatives, and a third performs specialized professional functions. At the same time, manufacturers understand that the key success factor will not only be the robot's intelligence, but also the level of trust from people. Users must be confident that the system is safe, predictable, and controllable. That is why many companies are investing enormous resources into developing safety mechanisms and constraints for autonomous systems. Some insiders in the technology sector suggest that the first truly mass-market home humanoid robots may appear earlier than most people expect. The reason given is the rapid growth of computing power, the decreasing cost of components, and continuous improvements in artificial intelligence. If just a few years ago, robots required massive servers to perform complex tasks, today, more and more functions can be executed locally or through cloud platforms in near real time. As a result, humanity is gradually approaching a scenario that until recently existed only in books and films. Cities where humans and intelligent machines work side by side. Homes where robots help families handle everyday tasks. Hospitals, schools, industries, and transport systems operating with the active participation of autonomous assistants. Of course, no one can say with certainty how quickly this scenario will materialize or which companies will become leaders in this race. But one thing is becoming increasingly clear. The development of artificial intelligence and robotics is gradually merging into a single technological trend. And if the previous era belonged to smartphones and the internet, the next may very well become the era of intelligent humanoid robots that transform humanity's understanding of work, education, healthcare, communication, and everyday life itself. That is why more and more analysts describe the current period not simply as another stage of technological development, but as the beginning of preparation for one of the most profound transformations in the history of modern civilization. But perhaps the most interesting aspect of this revolution will not even be its technological dimension, but the speed at which human perception itself will change. History shows that people adapt incredibly quickly to things that just yesterday seemed impossible. When the first cars appeared, many considered them a dangerous toy for the wealthy. When the first computers appeared, few could imagine that one day they would be in every home. When the first modern artificial intelligence systems entered the market, most people saw them as a curious experiment. But in a very short time, millions of people already cannot imagine their work without AI assistance. This is why many futurists believe that humanoid robots will follow a similar path. At first they will cause surprise, then interest, then active discussion, and eventually they will become a familiar part of the surrounding world. Perhaps within just a few years, a child who sees a robot on the street will react to it as calmly as they react today to a courier with a phone or an electric car. At the same time, the main intrigue is not whether robots will be able to perform human work. That is most likely only a matter of time. What matters far more is something else: how civilization itself will change when millions of intelligent assistants appear alongside humans, capable of learning, communicating, and adapting to their environment in near real time. Some experts describe this as the beginning of a new golden age of productivity and technological prosperity. Others warn that humanity is entering territory it has never occupied before, meaning the consequences cannot be fully predicted. That is why the largest governments, technology corporations, and research centers are already closely monitoring every new breakthrough in artificial intelligence and robotics. Too much is at stake. This is not simply about a new device or a new market. It is about the potential emergence of a completely new participant in human civilization, an intelligent machine that can be present alongside humans every day. And if current rates of development continue, the moment when such robots stop being science fiction and become reality may be much closer than even the most ambitious forecasts are willing to admit. This is why more and more analysts describe the coming decade as a period that will determine the direction of human development for many decades to come.